Sexual harassment is at the forefront of the national conversation. PBS's new 5-part series titled #MeToo, Now What? Aims to take this discussion to another level by engaging both women and men from all walks of life in dialogue about this difficult topic. Here's a sneak peek.
I was sexually assaulted.
I was afraid to
He
speak
grabbed
up.
me at work.
What about due process?
They let you do it.
I was sexually assaulted.
I was afraid.
She's alive.
to
But
speak
all
up.
women deserve to be
Open your
heard.
eyes. What am I supposed to say? This has been happening for decades.
Join me, Zainab Selby, to explore the Me Too movement, how we got here, and how can we move forward.
Me Too, Now What? Starts Friday, February 2nd, only on PBS.
And we're joined now by the show's host, Zainab Selby. Welcome to Metro Focus.
Thank you.
So this series looks like it's really intense, that you had a chance to really get a cross-section of America's pulse on the issue of the Me Too movement.
That is the hope. It's an important movement. And for it to really lead to lasting change, we need to look at how did we get here. And to do that, we need to talk with people from all walks of life, from all classes, from all races and ethnic and cultural backgrounds, from different, professional backgrounds. We really need to look at it because for me, it's not a surprise that this has happened. We've all endured it. We also live in a culture that has frankly commodified women's sexuality and women have been rewarded for it. We're living in a culture that now in this moment that horrible. The gaming industry, how they the representation of women in music, in film, in all of that, a lot of it is actually disturbing. So it did not come out of the blue. All of that impacted our social behavior. The messages that were given to men, the message that were given to women, and now women are breaking their silence and saying, enough is enough, we're done with that. We need to deconstruct that. For it, though, for us to use this moment to really lead to change, we need to dare to have some uncomfortable conversations. There are a lot of people who are saying, this is great, but they're having questions and they're afraid to ask questions because anybody who is talking about it gets attacked, And so the series aims at really trying to get these questions out of the way and out of in the surface. This is the only way we will not create backlash. This is the only way for this movement to actually really lead to lasting change is when we address all the questions in public without worry or fear and engage with it.
Well, it's interesting that you would bring up the uncomfortableness of some of the questions. I'm also really intrigued by the fact that you're engaging women and men. Some men have already had a backlash reaction to the Me Too movement, and a very prominent example would be Liam Neeson, who referred to it as a witch hunt.
It's disturbing to use the word witch hunt. However, he is pointing to, in my opinion, to the idea. So it's not a witch hunt. In some of my conversations, actually, in the dialogue, people are saying, come on, it's just a social media thing. However, men are in pain, in my opinion, right now. And they're trying to understand, not only reflect what they have done, but also understand how they can adjust, So in my conversation with men on the street, actually, people are saying we need to acknowledge what we have done. There are men who are saying we need a discussion of what is the new masculinity look like. We need to have men actually show up in vulnerability, and we're afraid to ask questions generally, but now we really need to ask questions. So I think it's important, I think it's pivotal that we engage men. And actually, one of my most exciting moments in the series is an interview with a woman who has gone through horrible violation and the man who has done that to her, and how they individually process their own journey, her own pain and anger, and how she actually came around, whether trying to decide to forgive or not to forgive, how to engage or not to engage, to punish or not to punish, all these questions, and him losing everything in his life, and now he's sleeping on a sofa at a friend's house. and him grappling with his actions and his bullying and all the things and trying to see how does he deal with all these emotions. Now we need to engage with that. We need to engage with the emotion behind the anger. We need to engage, we understand the pain. We need to talk about the sexuality. We need to talk about the commodification. We need to talk about our advertising industry and how it's used women. We need to talk about this, and we need to talk about men's questions and not shut them down fast. You know, we need to actually engage so we can have it as transformative movement.
Well, as important as I think these conversations are to have, of course, the title alone has the really big question, now what? So if we're having these conversations, as uncomfortable and challenging as they may be, do we get any kind of sense as to how we begin to make lasting change?
They are the easy answers and they are the harder answers. The easy answers, you do legal reforms, you do more HR training. These are the easiest changes, in my opinion. The harder answer is how we each need to look inward and outward, mirror of ourselves, of where are the times in which we have been complacent, women and men, in seeing a violation and we did not say anything about it and look the other direction. Where are the times in which we were silent and why we are silent? We need to reflect, why did we, And where are the times in which we have been complicit even? And where are the times in which we have co-created a context in which it hurt other women? Unless and until we ask these questions and unless until we engage in these questions, but in a constructive way and in a way that can hold the safe space to have authentic conversation. I think it's authenticity that people are hungering for. It's like you have all these apologies from men, but they do not resonate as authentic. They resonate as like, I am sorry, I did this, like almost automatically. So how can we get into the authentic feeling and the remorse and the pain and deconstruct that so we sort of bring it back to groundedness, and so we can talk about where are the areas I need to change as an individual, you need to change as all of us, and as a society, where are the reforms in the society that we need to have?
Given all the work that you've done creating this series, it is 5 parts. And I have to ask, because a lot of the things that you're talking about change and, we can make legal reforms, but changing people's hearts is different. It kind of sounds a lot like how we've attempted to address the issues of race in this country. And we know that that's something that we continue to struggle with. So even though this is a 5-part series, is this an ongoing struggle?
I think it's definitely an ongoing struggle. I see it as the beginning of the conversation, stage 2 of the conversation. Look, for anybody who's trauma, and I've worked on trauma and I had my own trauma as a woman as well, first you break the silence. That's the first step, which has now been broken. Then you actually show the anger and the rage because you are so angry at all the injustices that you have confronted and dealt with, and that's the second stage we're in. Now, the third stage is saying, I need to do something to heal because it's heavy on my heart, you know? And we're gonna have to hit that stage one way or the other. I am hoping the Me Too Now What begins this process of how do we engage now in the second phase of the conversation.
All right. Well, I think, like you said, we are definitely all hungry for authenticity. And it seems like this is a series that's definitely going to provide that.
It is my hope for that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
#MeToo, Now What? Premieres February 2nd at 8:30 on PBS. Be sure to tune in.